Good afternoon. Let's get some stuff on the screen. Okay. So we got a spreadsheet available. Okay, we'll look at that in a second. Let's make sure I'm going live everywhere else. All right, it'll be a moment, folks. All right, here I am. Okay, and over here. Also, perfect. Yeah, so I'm everywhere. So welcome to another live Spreadsheet Thursday, live farm spreadsheets. I'm Dan Brisebois, and this is the Farmer Spreadsheet Academy. So what I'm going to talk about today is not specifically online farm store related, though it is part of it, but it's more spreadsheet specific. And it's the case where you might work on a farm where you have folks who speak in different languages, and also the same for your clients too. And so on our farm, we're in Quebec in Canada, outside of Montreal. And in our team, we have a lot of English speakers and French speakers, Anglophones and Francophones, though everybody does kind of jump back and forth between the languages too. And in our clients, we have a lot of folks who are also both English and French speakers. And so, in an ideal world, all our systems would be fully bilingual. I mean, practically, our internal spreadsheets are actually a real mismatch of different languages, English and French. And so it's a really great crash course in living in two languages, going through some of our spreadsheets. But when we're dealing with our clients, we definitely want to have stuff be in a language that they would prefer to interact with. And so some of that has to do with how you set up your web store, how you set up your online store, your website. And there's different solutions depending what platform you're on, whether you're using something like WooCommerce or Shopify like we are, or any other kind of system. There's different ways that you go around that. And I'm not going to jump into that specific piece. But in general, when you're dealing with your online store or other parts of your business, it's good to have a spreadsheet behind them and to have a spreadsheet generating that information that you then upload somewhere else. And that lets you have a centralized place where you're able to update things and then export things and bring them elsewhere. And if you've been following along in recent tips, you know that that's sort of been the approach I have with having your products offline or elsewhere, like in a Google Sheet, that you're able to export as a CSV file and then bring them into your website. And the same with just about any, taking orders out of your online store and being able to manage them in a Google Sheet, just very handy. And so what I'm going to look at here is how you might be handling some languages in some of these sheets. And it's more of an approach than of a fully fleshed out system that I'm bringing to you. More of just like an approach about how you might go around structuring that. And part of the basics. Oh, did I lose my camera over here? Yeah, it looks like I did. Let me see if I can get that back in. But part of the approach that I have is based around you have one main language that the sheets are set up in, kind of a default language, and then they're translated into a secondary language, and tertiary and so forth if you have it. Okay, seem to be, so my face has disappeared, but I think, can you still hear me? I think so. Yeah, it looks like I'm still on air. Okay, so I'm going to bring this sheet in, and okay, one more chance to try to bring the camera back. Okay, let's see if I shut this down and okay. Well, you're going to just have to hear me and we won't see me. So what I'm going to go through with here is, so if you can follow along with these sheets at home, going to spreadsheet.farm/FSA035. And let me increase this font up. And so these sheets, the basics of them are the ones that we looked at back in spreadsheet tip 32 when we talked about, what do we talk about? Talk about importing Shopify CSV. So we're going to go look at those again, and we're going to add some extra columns to how we would use some of that stuff. So here, so just kind of a reminder, in that tip, we had a bigger file, which was a CSV that you could import into Shopify in this case. You could have a variant file like this going into any kind of other web store, but this was specifically for Shopify, this format. And some of the columns, the ones in blue, were coming from tab 2, related to formats, and the ones in green were coming from tab 1, which is descriptions. And that's kind of how it was built. And so already with this, we've structured some of the products. And so we're going to embed now translations into each of the different sheets so that we can then use them in other places where we'd be using translations. So here on the description sheet, there's some fields like product. This is one that, you know, we would want to be, maybe we'll put them in red. This is something that, you know, on the farm, whether we're dealing with staff or dealing with clients, we would use different words in different languages. When we're translating something, so this is the body, the description of the product, would also be the same thing. Now, the vendor is something that is specific, you know, it's unilingual, the way the Shopify is set up, so I wouldn't translate that. The same thing with the type is unilingual, so I wouldn't be able to translate that. And even the tags are unilingual in Shopify. It's not true in WooCommerce and other platforms. When you're dealing with multiple languages, you can translate some of that stuff. So in that case, I would worry about that here, but because Shopify, I can't translate it, I'm just going to skip over that right now. And so these two columns are the ones that I'd want to translate. And here, I've added some columns. So product, FR, and FR is for French because in my case, I'd be translating into French. And then here's the body in French. Now, so there is, to just start off, there is a really handy formula, as there always is. And so it's equals Google Translate. There you are. And with that, you choose the text that you want to translate, you do comma, and then you start off with the short code of what you want to translate from. So me, it's EN for English, and I'm going to put that into FR for French. I'm going to close parentheses. And when I do that, there's some loading, and then here it's translated from carrot to carotte. Now, if I click on the formula over here, I can do the question mark, and there's this thing for learn more. And actually, I'm not really sure. Well, basically, I was looking for a list if it was embedded in here, but you can learn more. But so here in this example that they show you, there's ES for Spanish, Español, and EN for English. So you can look online to find the two-letter short code that would correspond to your language, and then you can just plug it in, and you can drag down like you would any formula. And here you have different text appearing in function of the language, and that also extends. You know, here are the translations. So you know, orange and crunchy, fantastic description. Orange et croquante. And so at a base level, here you got a tool that does the translation for you to start off with. And in this specific case, these are really simple text being translated, and as such, the translations are adequate. I mean, maybe the description initially would be better to be different, but the translation is accurate. If there was something here that you didn't like the translation, you can just go over it and then write something else in that field, and that would then give you a different translation. So this is the first step. And in this case, because we're just dealing with products and simple descriptions, it works pretty well. Let's head over for the format chart, and we'll go through this too. So here, we're going to be translating. We want to translate the product. We want to translate the format. And then we want to translate the title. And then the other things in this are not stuff that we're specifically going to translate. And the title, okay, I'm going to put that in red in the back. Or that's a bit aggressive. I'll put it like this. So we're going to translate this column too. And so I'll just freeze up to here. And I'm going to add 3 columns to the right. One is going to be product French. Actually, I could just, the next one is going to be format French. And the last one will be title French. So, and I'm going to just put these down. Let's put them in a different color here. That, and then we'll bring this back as the title. And so I want to translate each of the pieces of information that I have to appear in other places. Now, I've already translated the word carrot on the first page over here. So to get that information, rather than put another translation form, I'm going to use an index match formula. So index, I want to look up this, and I want to match it. I want to spell well first. I want to match it to cell A2, which is the word I'm looking for, in this specific list. And I'll do 0, and then, because I want it to be exact, close the parentheses twice. And here the answer is. And I can drag this down. And the translation goes all the way down. So this works pretty well. Now, and so you could put a translation formula here, and you could manually update each of these. The thing is, you want all your translation. So the same way with all your spreadsheet, you want things to be in sync and to be standardized. You also want the way things are translated to one place to be translated the same way somewhere else. And so that's why you'd be looking. It's better to look this up. And so if you didn't like the way carotte was translated, I don't know what you'd put instead, but I'm just gonna, like, well, we'll see it. We'll see an example of if you didn't like the translation in a moment. So the next thing we're going to do is the format. And so the format here, this is the word. So there's multiple words coming up. Some of them are being repeated. And because I want to standardize things, I don't want to go through one by one. So what I'm actually going to do, and I maybe could have done this from the beginning with that format column, is I'm going to write in here, and I want to draw the formats that we already have. So I'm going to write equals unique, and that is in this close parentheses. So these are the formats that are here. I'm going to copy this and paste the special. So these are the formats that I want to translate. So this is the format in English, and then the format in French. And so a bonus of having a sheet like this before we even translate is over here, I can highlight this column, and then I could do data validation, and I'm going to, the criteria, so I'm going to make a drop-down list essentially. So choosing from a list of items, and the list of items that I'm choosing from is this list right here. So maybe the first 20 items. Actually, I got to highlight that. Why does it not like that? Let's see. So that's the range, the list of items that I'm looking for. It is not happy with what I'm doing. Okay, so this list of items, okay, it seems to be a bit buggy. Let's see if I can redo that. So I'm going to highlight here. I'm doing data validation. List from, oh, no, it's list of range, not list from items. I'm wrong. And so here, I'm going to go and choose the first 20. Okay. And then I'm rejecting the input if it's wrong, and save. So now I actually have this as a drop-down menu. So let's say I want to add in a couple of the formats. So maybe I have a 1 kilogram bag, a 2 kilogram bag, and a 5 kilogram bag. And then here, I'm going to do my carrots, or so I'm going to do my carrots, and I could choose a 1 kilogram bag, and then a 5 kilogram bag, and so forth, and then fill out the other columns. So over here with the format, no, let's go back to this page here. So now I can translate these one by one, and then I'm going to use an index match to look them up. You may have seen that coming. So equals Google Translate. I'm going to look at this text. I'm going to do from English to French, close parentheses, and it's loading up, and it says groupe. And that's actually not a great translation. I would probably want the word but to be the translation in French of a bunch rather than groupe. So I'm just going to drag this down, and you know, I actually don't mind unité, and I don't mind these as translations, but the groupe isn't. So I'm going to put that in, and I'm going to write but to replace it. And now here on this format page, I'm going to do an index. I'm going to look up this column. I'm going to match it to the word C2, which is the word bunch in this case, over here, comma. I'm actually doing semicolons, but it's the same if generally if in the States or Canada, semicolons and colons work the same in your Google Sheet. So 0, because I want an exact match, and then close parentheses, and here the translation is brought down. And so now these are all translated. And so if I were to translate something here, to change this translation, and you know, I do put it back down that formula, and it says groupe, this is going to be translated over here in both cases. Now, I don't like that, so I'm going to keep it as it was. And then the last piece for the title, this was actually just a formula that was here that was drawing the product word and the format word. So equals here, and then I could do ampersand, which joins text, and then I'm going to join it with next a quotation, next a hyphen between quotation marks. So I'm going to add that quotation mark defines the string of text I'm going to do. So it's specifically a hyphen, and but, and so there we are, and I can drag this down. So now I have those 3 items that would be translated into here. And now that my sheets are set up this way, I can look up, I can refer to these anywhere else in my other sheets so that I'll have something in a language that, you know, make it maybe easier to understand for the people reading it. And in the case of your staff, like if that's like where we are, pretty much everyone's pretty much bilingual. This might be more of a tool for them to understand, make sure they have a good understanding of words so that when they're dealing with clients, like, so one thing that we'd have is we would have, if we were doing a market, so I'm going to write a new sheet here. If we were creating a market sales sheet, you know, at the farmer's market, we'd have, you know, our crop, and then we'd have, so we'd have the name, and then you could have the name in the other language. So let's say it was the French name first, which is the nom, and then the English name, and then you could have your price and your start quantities and your end quantities and what was sold. And so here you could get this by, well, I guess we'd probably get that from the product list. And so we'd probably do equals sort and then unique. Well, we probably don't need the unique. Sort, and then we're going to go through, you know what, I'm actually going to start with the English in this case. Equals the English, and actually the reason I'm going to start with the reason I was hesitant to start with the French, so I'll just show what happens. If I write equals sort, and then I look up what's in the format sheet in the title in French, so to N, and I close parentheses, it's going to bring me all these error message. I don't want to see that. So what I actually could use instead is I could use a filter formula, and oh, maybe I'm going to do something tricky here. And so filter formula, looking up for that same column in the case where the product is not empty. And it does not that. They have to have the same number of length. So, and that shows up this, and then I could have this be. So in this specific case, I could use another filter formula. lock this. I could use another filter formula just to bring this over, and it could be looking up column. That's a little bit too much erasing. Looking up column A, and it shows the name, or I think that was, what column was it I was looking up? D. So we can go there. And it's gonna, that's the wrong column. So E. I can show the different columns in English. So you'd have a sheet that has your French and your English, and these are looking from somewhere else. So if you change it, you can print out a new sheet for your team. I guess to just go through this to the end. So we also probably want to bring the prices in, which is column I. So we'll just copy this over here, and we'll change the filter formula to column I, and it's showing the prices. These prices haven't been defined yet, so I can go in and I could update this, and maybe a 1 kilogram bag is $5, and a 5 kilogram bag would be something like, let's say it's $20. And so I'm actually label this the market sheet. And then you can have this sheet that you write down the numbers you start off with. Maybe you have 20 of each item. At the end of the day, you record what's end, and then you know what's sold, and then you bring that into your system, unless you're running through a POS system. But so this is this would let you get so this will let you create a sheet that has French names and English names that your crew can work with, and you can update them elsewhere, and you can print this information out each time. And the same thing if you were working with. So we had the Shopify CSV. And now Shopify doesn't work this way. If I remember well, WooCommerce works this way. You'd have one Shopify, one CSV file for your English products, and then you could create another one, duplicate, which would, let's go duplicate. And then this could be a CSV for your French products. Now Shopify doesn't work this way. It has a little bit of a different structure, a little bit clumsier. That's one place that WooCommerce really is strong with, is the CSV or the multilingual stuff. But so here, in this case, right now, this is looking up the English. You could just change this to the French column in the title, which was column N. And that's set up. And then you could, for the index match, instead of looking up in column C in the description tab, we're going to be looking up in column I. And it's translated. So you have to update all the lines, and it translates. And I think that's all the stuff that needs to be translated in this specific case. So this is so to summarize, the approach that we're using is to embed in wherever you have information right away at the source, to put it in a different. In the other languages that you want to have. Like, I mean, so, and you can do this for multiple languages. And then refer to that language in other places so that, or refer to those words in other places so that you're using the same terms and you're consistent, the same way you'd standardize anything else, and make sure your spelling's the same and so forth. And you can start off by using the Google Translate formula that we have here. But recognize that it is flawed. And if you don't like what it gives you, you can override that in the text in the column. So I think I'm going to wrap up on that point, and I'll let you go and do some translations in your own sheets and set them up to be a little bit more multilingual. And as usual, where's this? Yeah, if you have any burning spreadsheet questions, send them my way. You can DM me. You can send me an email. I even have a form at spreadsheet.farm/questions where you can send them to me. So thanks for watching. Have a fantastic afternoon, and happy